Because I can?
No, you can't. You can't record me.
All
Are
right.
you trying to go to jail? Okay,
Yep,
turn that off. You don't have the right to record us.
Do not touch my camera. You know what? You know what? Take me to fucking jail. Take me to jail.
Maximillionaire here. This story comes out of Gary, Indiana, where a man was relaxing at home with his wife and kids when he noticed there was police cars out in front of his house. He grabbed his video camera and went out to investigate. Little did he know what was going to happen next. Let's watch and find out.
Alright, so we got squad cars out front of the house here. Very unsure what's going on. .104. And 58.
Sir, why are you recording me?
Because I can?
No, you can't.
I can't?
No, you can't.
Well, I can. This is a public street. And by the way, you're live on YouTube right now.
Okay, I don't care.
Really? You don't care? Because it kind of seems like the recording is the only thing that you really do care about.
Okay, back off of me. Back off of me.
You can't record me.
All
Are
right.
you trying to go to jail?
Oh, just chill. I'm trying to. Give me 1 minute.
ID, please. ID.
Give me 1 minute.
Turn that off.
ID. I'm trying. I'm trying.
You're being real disrespectful.
How am I? What's your name and badge number?
Is that off?
What?
You don't have the right to record us.
What? He doesn't have the right to record police officers in public performing their public duty? Hey, guess what this sound is, Officer Jones? That's the sound of your qualified immunity going out the window faster than you can say ACLU versus Alvarez. Your middle initial must be F, because by the time the courts are done with you, the only thing we're going to have left to say to you is...
Bye, Felicia.
I mean, how dumb can you be? ACLU v. Alvarez was the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals case that gave citizens the right to film police in public, and it happened in the county right next door to yours.
You don't have the right to record us.
I'm trying to stay on. I'm trying to stay on a public sidewalk.
Is that off?
I'm trying to stay on a public sidewalk.
Okay, turn that off.
Where do you live, sir? How do you do, sir? Where do you live, sir?
All right, what's your name, sir? This should be disrespectful to me.
Sir,
At least you're saying sir, okay?
Sir,
so I'm trying to talk to you. Okay, let me step right here so I can actually see you.
Is this your truck?
I'm trying to see you, sir.
Is this your truck?
That is not my truck.
Okay,
do you need it moved?
No, what is it yours?
No, but I can get a hold of the person that it is.
Where do you live, sir?
That's irregardless.
No,
what am I doing wrong, sir?
Coming over here interfering
what am I doing wrong? I'm not interfering with nobody.
You're walking around on someone else's property, interfering with us.
I'm not walking on nobody else's property.
Yeah.
I'm not walking around on no one else's property.
Okay, do you have your ID on you, sir?
And what misdemeanor or infraction have I committed?
Interfering with law enforcement.
How did I interfere? If you can, I didn't go anywhere over there.
Lower your voice. Nobody, you're not in charge. Lower your voice.
Do not touch my camera. You know what? You know what? Take me to fucking jail. Take me to jail. You know what? You just violated my rights.
Now here comes a really fun part, because we already have the arrest affidavits, so now we get to see the lies that this cop wrote up to try to justify what they did. They charged him with disorderly conduct, claiming that he was shouting and yelling continuously, and he continued to be making noise after being asked to stop by Officer Jones. They also said he resisted law enforcement, that he knowingly or intentionally, by force, resist, obstruct, or interfere with a law enforcement officer by pulling away and interfering with police during an incident. The next page says, officers were in the process of handling one call while being on scene when the above began to interfere with police. Now let's get to the narrative where this fairy tale starts getting really good. On 9/1/2018 at approximately 8:30 p.m., Officer Jones, Corporal Nielsen, and Probationary Officer Kirk were dispatched to the 4200 East 11th Place in reference to a disturbance. Upon arriving, officers were speaking with the complainant and the other party involved, until the officers observed a male, white, later identified as Edward N. Strauss, walking in the grass and around a white truck that was in front of the residence with the caller inside of. The area was dark, and the officers observed a black and metallic-looking object in Mr. Strauss's hand that may have been a weapon, along with an object with a flashing light in his other hand. Mr. Strauss caused all three officers to be distracted upon dealing with their initial call and situation, to stop and walk away from speaking with the other complainant to see exactly what Mr. Strauss was suspiciously doing. When Officer Jones asked Mr. Strauss what was in his hands, what was he doing, and why was he interfering with the police, and Mr. Strauss stated, "I'm YouTubing live." Here is the white truck that was at his next-door neighbor's, and you can see a man sitting in the cab. The grass that he was on was his own front yard.
Sir, why are you recording me?
Because I can?
No, you can't.
I can't?
No, you can't.
Well, I can. This is a public street. And by the way, you're live on YouTube right now.
Okay, I don't care.
As Officer Jones approached Mr. Strauss, he began to walk away from her backwards towards the other side of the street. Officers asked Mr. Strauss for his name and for his identification, but instead of identifying himself, Mr. Strauss stated that he was not doing anything wrong.
Okay, back off of me. Back off of me.
You can't record me.
All
Are
right.
you trying to go to jail?
Oh, just chill. I'm trying to. Give me 1 minute.
ID, please. ID.
Give me 1 minute.
Turn that off.
ID.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
You're being real disrespectful.
How am I? What's your name and badge number?
Is that oath?
What?
You don't have
Please.
the right to record us.
I'm trying to stay on.
Is
I'm
that
trying to stay on a public
Don't
sidewalk.
move.
Is that oath?
I'm trying to stay on a public sidewalk.
Okay,
Yep,
turn that
that's all.
off.
Where do you live, sir? How you
Huh?
doing, sir? Where do you live, sir?
All right. What's your name, sir? This should be disrespectful to me.
Sir,
At
we're
least
being
you're saying
disrespectful.
sir. Okay.
Sir,
So I'm trying to
sir,
talk to you.
Simply,
Okay.
what do you want?
Let me step right here so I can actually
Is
see
this
you.
your truck?
I'm trying to. I'm trying to
Sir,
see you,
sir.
sir.
Is this your truck?
That is not my truck.
Okay,
Do you
where
need it moved?
No, what is it yours?
No, but I can get a hold of the person that it is.
Where do you live, sir?
That's irregardless.
Officer Jones told Mr. Strauss several times that he was interfering with police and he needs to ID himself. Mr. Strauss continued to record Officer Jones even after she asked Mr. Strauss to stop recording and to ID himself. Mr. Strauss proceeded not to comply with officers' orders as he began to yell and shout, "I know my rights. I'm not committing a crime." Officers ordered Mr. Strauss to stop shouting and being disorderly, but he continued to do so. Officers ordered Mr. Strauss to place both of his hands behind his back due to being under arrest, and Mr. Strauss continued to scream and started pulling away from the officers to prevent getting handcuffed.
What am I doing wrong,
You're
sir?
coming over here interfering
What am I
with
doing
law.
wrong? I'm not interfering with nobody.
You're walking
Yeah, you
around
are.
on someone else's property, interfering with us.
I'm not walking on nobody else's property.
Yeah.
I'm not walking around on no one else's property.
Okay, do you have your ID on you, sir?
And what misdemeanor or infraction have I committed?
Interfering with law enforcement.
How did I interfere? If you can, I
I
didn't go anywhere over there.
Lower your voice. Nobody, you're not in charge. Lower your voice.
Do not touch my camera. You know what? You know what? Take me to fucking jail. Take me to jail. You know what? You just violated my rights.
Wow. At this point, it would be easier to enumerate the number of truths that they told in that affidavit rather than the number of lies. So why should we believe anything that they say happened after the camera got turned off? Well, we probably shouldn't, but let's take a look anyway and see what they say. After the officers had to use the minimum force necessary to restrain Mr. Strauss, they finally were able to place him into handcuffs, double-locked. Officers placed Mr. Strauss in the rear of Corporal Nielsen's marked unit number 104 and secured him safely in his seatbelt, while he proceeded to yell out a female's name after officers ordered Mr. Strauss multiple times to stop being disorderly. Captain Nielsen then walked back across the street to finish advising the complainant and the other female party on their initial call. Captain Nielsen and Officer Kirk transported Mr. Strauss for Officer Jones to 555 Polk Street for booking, due to Mr. Strauss being so irate, disorderly, and aggressive towards the officers. Now, it makes no sense to me that this man would tell the police to go ahead and take him to jail and yet resist arrest. You never heard them even tell him to turn around and put his hands behind his back, or that he was under arrest. But after he said, "Go ahead and take me to jail," that's when they slammed him on the ground, stomped on his hand, put a knee in the side of his head, pushing his face into the pavement, and twisted his hand back, trying to break it, which the officer later admitted to him. What makes America so great is that each and every one of us get to make the individual decision for ourselves if we wish to petition our government to seek redress of grievances. I, for one, plan on calling the Gary, Indiana Police Department and asking them if Officer Jones is correct and people are not allowed to record police officers in public.